welcome Damita Chandler to the Journal of Gospel Music.
Thank you.
We always like to get a little bit of early history on our artists. Now, you grew up in Detroit?
Yes. Born and raised, Detroit, Michigan.
And how did you become involved and interested in gospel music?
Well, gospel music was all around me my entire life. My parents were preachers, pastors. So, of course, in my home, that's the only thing that was allowed to be played. Gospel music, classical music, anything else outside of that was not allowed. And so that was my surroundings. I grew up in the church, so that's all I knew. I don't think I had said in my heart that I ever wanted to be a gospel singer. Actually, I wanted to be an actress or a lawyer. And it just so happened that music was just something that came natural for me. And so that's how I actually began to get into gospel music, was just by just doing it.
And what was that moment where you realized that this could, in fact, be your path?
I think I believe that it could be a pathway in life when I actually had formed a female, my sister and I had formed a female a cappella group called Adoration and Praise. The group, we were locally known and had gotten a lot of notoriety in the city, and started actually, before I got out of high school, we had actually started traveling, going, out of town, and being called to different states, to different functions to sing. And that's when I kind of, knew, music was my thing. It's something that I enjoyed doing, and something that I loved doing, and something that was easy. And it really wasn't hard work for me. I was able to, do something that I enjoyed for a living. That's when I knew.
And did Adoration and Praise end up getting a recording contract, or what happened?
We actually did.
Yeah.
We actually did. We had actually went to go sing at a birthday party in Indianapolis, Indiana. We didn't know who the guy was, and we actually sang one of our songs and actually got offered a record deal, our very first record deal, on TM Records, called Truth Ministries, TM Records, and we actually recorded a record that was produced by a popular producer back in the day, Alan Abraham. Actually, we were nominated for a couple of solo awards for it. So that's really how my career began in gospel music with my group Adoration and Praise.
What inspired you to become a solo artist?
I really wasn't looking to be a solo artist. It's just I started singing with my ex-husband's group, with our church choir, Voices of Unity, VOU, and when we recorded our first choir project, a lot of the songs that I would lead on the project would end up becoming singles, and those singles became popular, and everybody loved it, and I think that's really how I began to get my start, was through my church choir. Every song that I sang became the song, and before you know it, I was just watching how God would move in services and how He would move on people. When I was singing, I began to really learn, have a hands-on training experience in ministry, and that's what I knew then. I was like, this is bigger. I feel a call that God is really pushing me towards leadership, toward being a leader vocally, and I stepped out, and I stepped out and did it. And really, when I stepped out and did it, it was done. That was done by accident. We actually went to sing at another birthday party of another record exec, and it was with the choir VOU, and on this particular, it was in Nashville, Tennessee, and it was for one of the execs at Atlantic Records. It was my ex-husband's gig, but he called me out to sing lead once again at this particular event, and after the event, Atlantic Records asked me to sign. They wanted to sign me on their label, and that's really how I was pushed. I was forced. I mean, I knew I was supposed to go out and do, but I didn't have any direction. But that was the pivotal point where it was like, it's evident that this is God's will for my life, and I said yes, and I signed with Atlantic Records.
So this be a lesson to you all gospel artists out there. Make sure if somebody calls you to sing for a birthday party, do it.
Right.
Well, now, your No Turning Back album, really, I thought, broke new territory, really adding, some modern dimensions to gospel music. Did other artists cite you as an influence based on that album?
They did. I think the sound at that time, I mean, I don't do the average normal gospel. I can do, the hand clapping, foot stomping, any African-American church, it's almost like inherent that by nature. But I always was influenced by so many other styles and genres of music, and so when I wrote No Looking Back, I didn't hear anything traditional African American black gospel. It was totally out of the norm. All I did was heard a melody and called my god brother Courtney Horton to actually do the music, and so the sound was different. And when I first started singing it, and we recorded it, and I started singing it like, at Bobby Jones retreats and things like that, people were looking like in awe, like it was like this super duper special song. But I'm just like, this is normal for me. The sound is normal for me, but for the industry, it was a different type of sound. That's not the typical gospel sound that you hear. And so a lot of people were inspired, and they were touched by it. And still to this day, I hear so many people, give me their testimonies on how this song has tremendously blessed their lives. And so I think it influenced a lot of people.
And it seemed like it followed in that Detroit tradition of innovation, because you had the Winans, you had Red Salin, and there you are with a new sound.
Absolutely. I try. I do my best. To not let down the legends of Detroit that have paved the way.
I know the last couple of years have been challenging for you. What have you been doing to kind of get through all of it?
Well, the past couple of years, I have just continued to number one, remain plugged into God. That's what you could fast, you can go to church services, you can get words spoken over your life, you can get people laying hands on you, but at the end of the day, it was my choice and my decision to remain in God, and that God is the only one that has transformed my life and brought clarity and brought direction and leadership and to lead. And I've been solely depending. Proverbs 3:3-5 says, "Trust in the Lord with all thine heart, lean not to thine own understanding, in all thy ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct thy path." That scripture. Verses 7 and 8 became a theme in my life, and so whenever I would lose my way, or in everything that I did back then, even up until now, that's the verse that rings in my mind, in my heart. Because without God's direction, I would still be lost. I would still be depressed. I would still be in a state of confusion and pain and anguish and stuff. So I have to rely on God's word to bring me out, and that's the only thing that did, and the only thing that ever will continue to keep me. I know where my source lies. It doesn't lie in my talent, doesn't lie in my gift, it didn't lie in my name, it didn't lie in my popularity. The only thing at that time that brought me out was nothing but relying and trusting and leaning on God.
And was there ever a time during that period where you thought to yourself, even for a moment, you know what, enough of gospel music, I'm going to do something else?
Absolutely. Yeah. Unequivocally, emphatically, I felt like everybody turned on me. I felt like everybody had abandoned me. I felt like I wasn't appreciated. The sacrifice and the sacrifices that I had given my life to gospel music, to devoting myself to the ministry. I felt like it was gone. I felt at that time, with all the lies and scandals and false rumors that was being passed, I felt like I was being judged, and I was like, enough of this. I was like, I can go out and sing baby, ooh, this, that, and don't get me wrong, because I think that there's an element of secular music or lyrical content that we as believers can sing about that may not necessarily have the words Jesus or God in it, and it would be considered secular. I don't have a problem with that, but I was almost on the deep end. I felt like, I should just go straight R&B with people that would appreciate, at least people in the world, they don't throw you away. They keep it moving. They support you through whatever. Bad publicity is good publicity. So this, that, and the other. But I mean, there was something on the inside of me that would not let me be moved. There was that foundation. I was anchored on that rock during this storm, that no matter how much the enemy had planned and plot to destroy me, that the rock that I stood upon was the real rock that would not fall, that would not let me sink, that would not let me waver, even though my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions as a woman tried to get me to move in a certain direction. The spiritual investment that had been deposited into my life for over a numerous amount of years, from my mother's prayers, from my dad's prayers, from my own relationship that I had with God, would not allow me to move, but caused me to get into a place to be still and to really seek God, because I couldn't depend upon what my grandmother told me about God, what my mom taught me about God. I had to have a one-on-one confrontation and get to know God in a whole other realm, in a whole other way that I've never known him. And so that's what caused me to stay on the right path, to say, I'm going to continue to give the good news and the message and to represent God through my music.
Well, tell us about your current plans. What have you got coming up?
Well, we got a brand new single. It's called Mercy. A brand new song is called Mercy. It'll be it's only dropping on iTunes Tuesday, May the 26th. And after that, we're actually getting ready to shoot the music video to it. So hopefully the music video will be being released at the same time when the actual song is released. It's an amazing song. It talks about God's grace, God's mercy, and how God restores, and that how he validates you through his mercy, and that how, you know, I would say it's the same message, but the song is on a different flavor. It puts you in the mind of, like, I believe I can fly type thing. It's very, very emotional, and it's something that I think that you and your listeners would enjoy, so definitely you'll have it. You'll have it probably before anybody else, but you'll have it. Okay, and it sounds like, yeah, the ideal song for you to be singing right now, sort of as a testimony and a message. Absolutely, absolutely. That if I can, you know, as publicly as I went through, and if I can get through this and make it through the worst, what I consider the worst times of my life, definitely somebody else, there are a lot of listeners here that are probably going through similar situations, or those that have come out of that same situation, or those who are, if they keep living, that, you know, the enemy is going to present them. Everybody in life, we go through something. Our faith is tried and we're tested, but you got to understand and realize that God's mercy is capable to keep you from falling. Yeah. And we'll be doing any touring in the near future? We'll be doing a radio tour. We'll actually be we're gearing up to actually do a radio tour with the song Mercy, as well as getting in the studio to continue to do. We're going to release about 2 more singles as we're working on the brand new project. So yeah, we'll definitely be doing a tour. And the new project, any ideas of when the full album will be released? Well, you know what? That's up to Uncle Freddie Jerkins. Freddie Jerkins from Dark Child is executive producing the project. So I pretty much left it into his hands, and I'm hoping that at least by the fall, by September, that we will have and that's just by September, that we'll have a brand new full compilation CD from Damita. And can we expect the same sort of sound, or you have some surprises planned? Oh, no, we're going to have a lot of surprises. Who knows? I love country music. You may hear country on this one. So we'll see. My husband said, We're going to see you at the Grand Ole Opry as part of the tour. Exactly. The CMA. Wear that cowboy hat. You make sure you get that hat on. Exactly. Well, Damita, thanks. It's been a pleasure talking with you here on the Journal of Gospel Music. Best wishes for the single and the singles and the project and the tour, and we'll be sure to keep up with you as the months progress. Thank you so much.